show that tackles the big issues affecting the BVI and the rest of the Caribbean. Searches for answers to today's big questions and gives viewers a unique perspective on developing stories. Follow the big story with me, Kathy Richards, only on GTV. This show is brought to you by the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, Cyril B. Ramney Tertola Pier Park, HOV Medical, and Digicel. Sign up for Digicel Plus Home Light bundles, faster internet, movies, and sports. This is a big story. I'm Kathy Richards. I want to thank you so much for joining us for this edition. In studio with me, I have two gentlemen from Green VI, the lawn. We have Amar. Amar is going to tell us a lot about himself and what he's doing. And I guess most of us have been hearing about that project under Green VI, PROMAR. And Delon is going to break it down for us to tell us all about it. Guys, I want to welcome you to the set. It's such a pleasure seeing you here. You sling up one way.
Yeah. I ain't quite 100%, but I'm here.
You're here and well smiling, meaning that
Definitely.
whatever it is, you're taking care of it.
Definitely.
Yeah, and welcome. This is your first time to the Virgin Islands?
Exactly. Yeah, this is my first time, and I must say, I'm blessed to be here as well. Such a beautiful country. Yeah.
Nice. All right. So, like I said, we're here to talk about PROMAR. For the sake of our audience, could you explain what PROMAR is?
Sure. PROMAR simply means the prevention of marine litter, and specifically for this project in the Caribbean Sea. So the prevention of marine plastic litter in the Caribbean Sea, focusing really on single-use plastics and packaging and the things that we easily sometimes toss away, and then they find themselves ultimately to our oceans, to our marine environment, and we know how much we preserve our marine environment here in the Virgin Islands. So this is a regional project, and this is actually the second phase, and we're involved in it through, it's funded by the Ministry of Environment in Germany, and Adelphi is the leading agency and think tank, and it's actually coordinated regionally by United Nations Environment Agency, UNEP. So there's about 4 other Caribbean countries now involved in this project, the same type of project. St. Kitts, Suriname, I think Guyana. Trinidad and Guyana. All right, okay. So they're involved in it along with us. So it's looking at this project and this problem holistically and seeing how we can find solutions to this. So.
We know of the origins of Green VI, and it started just as a little baby, and it has blossomed into such an amazing organization doing such great things. Before we get Mark to talk about from your level what this all means and what it looks like, some of us don't really understand Delon's involvement with Green VI since you've been there.
Yes, so I am the director of operations of Green VI. I came aboard last year officially, but before that, I was on the board of Green VI for about five years, and we know what Green VI is. This local non-profit focusing on the environmental education and projects and initiatives, innovative projects and stuff, focusing on environmental sustainability. And we're excited, and people know us for the recycling.
Yes.
People know us for the recycling bins around the territory. People know us for our outreach programs in the schools. We're quite present in the schools. So the kids always see our members and say, yeah, I remember so-and-so telling me about plastic and reusable plastic and reusable bottles and getting rid of single-use plastic. So we're quite well known in that space. And I've come aboard as a director of operation, and it has been a whirlwind so far. So I'm really pleased to be involved in the type of projects such as PROMAR that really bring and make an impact on the behavior of the territory, and the behavior and the perspective of the territory as it relates to recycling.
So how did Green VI get on board with this?
Well, so Green VI as a nonprofit is a donor-based organization, and we're always and our core mission is to search for projects that would bring environmental innovation that will make an impact in the territory. So a few years ago, even before I came on, so our executive director Charlotte McDevitt, she heard about this project that's taking place, and this is actually the second phase of this project, and reached out to the organizers, and then the organizers obviously were looking for countries to be in the second phase of this project. Amara can expand on it a bit, but we connected and we said this is something that we feel can make an impact, and it fits right in with our core mission at Green VI. So we said, as is our motto, as I found out, why not? If you can do it,
why not?
Why not?
And Amar, the search found you and the organization and PROMAR. So give us an in-depth outline of your involvement, what your organization represents, and to the extent that PROMAR exists in other countries.
Sure, definitely. I think, like as Dylan mentioned, like it's a regional project, PROMAR, and I represent Adelphi, and Adelphi is a think and do tank based out of Germany, and we have like this PROMAR project, Marine Litter Prevention Project. We have several regional marine litter projects as well. Like currently, we are implementing marine litter prevention project in 16 different countries, and BVI is one of them right now. And as he mentioned, this project, there was a phase 1 which completed already. That's with Colombia, Costa Rica, and the.
It was some of the other bigger. I don't know, some of the bigger Spanish speaking.
And the other country. So once it's completed, then Dominican Republic.
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay.
So once it's completed, we thought when we have a success story in that project. Maybe we need to expand it to the smaller island nations, because we have everything in place in terms of the tools, in terms of the knowledge and everything. Then we thought okay, we would approach the donor, which is the German ministry, and extend them, saying that when we have a success story and which we want to replicate it in the other regions. And that's where these all 5 countries in the phase 2 came in. And Adelphi is basically a leading organization. We do lead in terms of the methodologies, approaches, as well as in terms of the overall project management and administrative. But the majority of the groundwork and the, let's say, get it done kind of an attitude and get it done thing will be done by our champions on the ground.
Okay, so you're just like the big sister guiding the little brother and others.
Exactly.
Okay. So, but you talk about the success stories.
Yeah.
What are those success stories that would say, hey, this really is working, this can work, and so we need a phase 2?
Exactly. So I would say a couple of them, maybe. So one of them is basically implementing an effective waste management system. When I say a waste management system, it's the whole closed loop waste management system. It's not only about the sorting, it's not only about the collection, it's about the overall loop, like how one can recycle and all. And we implemented those kind of effective pilot circular models in the coastal areas of these 3 countries. And they are now financially sustainable. It's not that they always look for the funds, but we built in the financial sustainability in those kind of projects that can run even after the project's funding. That's one of the success story which we wanted to replicate in the other countries, and we are very much looking forward to work with Green VI to do this kind of a pilot in BVI, just to have this kind of a story running forward. And another one is basically to come up with the policy mechanisms which would take this kind of a whole ecosystem of circular economy forward. We do know that when mostly in the let's say in the islandic nations, the plastic pollution is a big issue, because islandic nations are dependent on the tourism. And we have a very good success story in Dominican Republic where we introduced the EPR policy. Like we came up with our interventions, like the extended producer responsibility policy, and that's been one of the success stories. Like when just 2 weeks ago, it's been discussed in the parliament. And this is what we also want to introduce in all these 5 countries, so that when the countries can take it forward. Of course, it might be as I said, this is my first time in BVI, and looking at the country, I don't really see much of waste, thanks to Green VI and thanks to the ministry. But having been said, the tourism influx is growing. That also means that it comes with its own challenges in terms of the plastic waste, and one has to start managing now rather than putting the alarm at the later stage.
Good. The average person on the street will say, "Hey, you don't see much waste here." For us, the little that you see is a lot, and it's cause for concern. Green VI has been doing a really great job. One thing I do admire, I go around the territory for different reasons at various times, and I admire things like when you go to a restaurant, see they have separation bins. You go at a villa, they have conservative things, and just recently I saw one having separation bins in a villa. As that says that the education is working. People ask you to conserve on energy, conserve on your waste, and all of that. So that says a lot, and we know that Green VI is involved in this type of education. But when we think about, when you talk about your success stories, you look at bigger countries, you look at islands, you look at places that are not at islands. Guyana is one that you're working with. Being a Guyanese, I know the dynamics of the geographics of Guyana, and when we're going to compare, when we look at the BVI, we know there is a major difference.
Exactly.
When you look at those differences, what are things that you can take from the bigger countries that you would have piloted before to bring to those other countries, like Guyana, that is different from the BVI, like Dominica, that is much bigger than the Virgin Islands? How do we work those around?
So I would say you are totally right. When just yesterday only we were discussing about no single solution would fit to everything. Yeah, and of course when we talk about replication, replication is not only going to be copy and paste. It's basically adaptation should be there in terms of the country context. And over here we see that how the system is it's not only the geography, it's also about the political system. One need to take care of, and also demography, just in case, and also the waste management infrastructure, as in. So I would say that when some of the case studies which we have, or the success stories which we have, we can take little parts. We can't really copy and paste the things. For example, let's say what I mentioned about the pilot projects over the coastal line in these 3 countries where we implemented. What we can take from that is basically how the waste management systems can be built, and also it's not only the success story one needs to take care. One needs to also understand the challenges what we faced over there, and we should not repeat the same mistake. So that's also comes along with the experience what we did it in, let's say, in the other 15 countries apart from BVI.
I would definitely say that, and I'm thankful. Let me start with this. I'm actually thankful for the size of the Virgin Islands as compared to a Guyana, as compared to a Dominican Republic, at least in this context. And I'm thankful also for the close relationship that we have with the Waste Management Authority, the Department of Waste Management, the Ministry of Health, all the different ministries, because Green VI could not do what it does without coordinating or without moving in lockstep with the ministries. And I was telling Amar a few days ago that we have less layers between us as an organization and the ministries, and so in Ghana you might have to go to this municipality, this, that, and before you,
so environmental protection,
so there's a whole
all of that. I know,
but because we have that good relationship and that good reputation, and our work is really coordinated and integrated with the ministry's work. However, the Department of Waste Management wants to, move and expand their waste management or modify their waste management, we always have to say, okay, how can we come alongside? How can we help? How can we supplement this? And I'm thankful for that, because one of the things that we saw when we went to, I went with, because we're partnering with the Ministry of Environment, particularly Environment, Natural Resources and Climate Change on this project. And we went to Dominican Republic last year, and just to get introduced to the project, and then we saw, in terms of the solutions, they have huge rivers. They have huge rivers and many rivers, right? And then there's this mass of garbage and the volume of garbage flowing on the rivers. And one of the things that they're implementing are things called river booms across the rivers, right? And then they capture the waste and they're able to analyze. That solution, as Amar was saying, that can obviously work in the Virgin Islands, in St. Kitts as well, which has a similar topography. But it's what can work, where are the pockets of waste? And you mentioned that to us, we have a lot of waste. When you look at the little pockets of waste, yeah, but then when you compare it to just the volumes and the bigger countries and the larger countries, and even the culture, the perspective, the mindset, yeah, it's not a whole lot, but we do have to capture it where it is, so that as we increase in our tourism, as we increase in our population, we have solutions to mitigate plastic waste.
I think, I would like to also add one more thing over here, is that initially, I think day before yesterday, we had a meeting with Ministry of Environment and also Ministry of Health, and I must say that there is a will. There's a willpower.
There's a will.
Yeah, and they're really excited also to work with us under this project to come up with certain policies, and we are also very much looking forward for that, to get into the act coming years, and we would be very happy to collaborate very actively as well. And another very important thing about the island specifically is the imports. There are no producers on the island, it's mostly the imports.
Yes.
So whatever the laws which we have, the non-islandic countries might not be similar to that of the countries like St. Kitts and Nevis or BVI, because they import quite a lot. It's an import economy. So it will be totally different. But having been said, there are stories around the world who have, very successfully implemented certain laws to avoid the plastic entering the sea, or to even avoid at the extent that, entering the whole island itself, like banning the imports, or like single-use plastic bans and all stuff are still there. And they are really successfully implemented.
And when we look at the Virgin Islands in its true sense, while we say we might be small, we're really big, because when we look at the extent of our sea borders,
or marine or zone. Yes.
And then we also have the dynamics of where our population resides, with the 4 main islands are so far apart, and then you have the private islands, and the dynamics of each island is different.
Absolutely.
So when there's some places your study can be overall, you have to come up now with strategies to deal with each island, because it's different. It's like a country by itself in every island.
Yes. It's and so taking that into account, because one of the aspects of this project is to analyze, or we had to pick certain key spots to analyze what is the waste profile there in terms of the plastic, what kind of litter do we find there, how do we, and this is that's a key portion of what Jahphix brought along, the expertise to put systems in place to not only analyze and monitor the waste, but systems that can work even after the project finishes.
Okay.
So systems that can be integrated into existing government processes. For example, if you have beach monitors or beach wardens cleaning up a beach, how can we integrate extra monitoring, or how can we integrate a enhanced monitoring mechanism, and making sure that in just cleaning up the beach, it's not just taking up waste and throwing it away, but analyzing what type of waste, so that we can figure out what solutions we can do to intercept this plastic waste from coming. And then that might change from Tortola to Virgin Gorda, and Igata might be a different, and Just Van Dyke may be a different thing. So what core things can we take and then build them out for the various islands, because we don't want, one of the things that attracted us to this project is the enduring nature of it, that it has to be replicable. It has to be replicated, it has to be integrated into public systems, so that even after the funding for this finite project finishes, we now have an enhanced mechanism for dealing with plastic litter and interception.
Okay, so that means that there needs to be longevity.
There
needs to be sustainability.
Exactly.
A big factor in all of this is behavior change.
Yes.
Yep.
Behavior change among the general populace, behavior change among our key stakeholders in the territory. And I know so on Thursday and Friday of this week, you're trying to get your stakeholders together. You want to tell us about that?
Yes, so we have some workshops tomorrow and Friday. The first workshop, the first day, would focus on more of the policy dialogue and the policy around plastic pollution. How do we look at waste management? How is waste management managed in the territory presently? And how can this enhance monitoring and looking at this in two different lenses in terms of plastic pollution? How can we integrate this into policy? And what are the answers and what are the challenges that we're facing? The second day, on Friday, we focus on, Amar mentioned it, extended producer responsibility, and the idea of how can we look to turn this plastic waste into a resource, not only for, the public sector is the policy and legislation, but the private sector looks at the business opportunities around plastics. So I don't know if you want to expand more on the tip.
So I think, when on the first day, apart from discussing challenges, we would also love to have discussions around the solutions, because we are going to have both the workshops. We are going to have multi-stakeholder, and one of the a key thing under this kind of dialogues is we don't want anybody to be feeling left out. And that's why we included all the stakeholders, whether it's from the public stakeholders, private stakeholder, NGOs, universities, schools, kind of a thing, and also some of the civil society organizations coming together and discussing. And the second day, as Dylan mentioned, EPR, extended producer responsibility, it's a law, it's a kind of a policy instrument where when producers, that means importers, retailers, are held responsible in terms of taking care of the waste management system. But having been said, there are some discussions already happening now in terms of the deposit refund schemes.
Yes.
In that can be brought in. So if you are buying a bottle of water, if you want to replace, if you want to collect it, take back, then you need to put some kind of a price on it. Let's say 25 cents or something like that, and then it would be easier. Even if you yourself don't do it, there is an informal sector or there is a formal sector. Whoever collects it and gives it back, then you get that money back. So that kind of a systems we are going to explore on the second day. And not only that, once those plastics or once those kind of whether e-waste or something, if they are received, what kind of business models are there? What kind of a local business models which can actually run the local economy? So we will also look into those kind of business models, and it doesn't have to be a very tech driven. It can be something very, very easy to upcycle or a low investment, and can be actually replicated between the different islands, between the different communities, and the community people can actually earn a little bit more on what they were earning. So that's the idea basically on the second day, to explore some of these kind of circular business models and the instruments.
What I see there also is the avenue for the development of new businesses. And I just not so long ago spoke with Unite BVI, and they're running this program where they're giving these grants for new initiatives that are geared toward protecting the environment. So out of this I can see, attending the workshops and the seminars can also give persons the ideas as to what business I can go into. But the behavior change aspect of it, I remember, so there were about 4 or 5 times that I can recall where businesses try to implement the system where we minimize the use of plastic bags, and the pushback was massive. Some continue to charge if you want to. I was in China not so long ago, and the one thing that I observed, if you want a bag, you got to pay. I remember us wanting a bag, but refusing to pay because of the cost of it, and we came out with our stuff in our hands.
Yeah.
So there's one bag less,
Yeah.
one less plastic
Yeah.
out there, and so it all takes up a behavior change.
Absolutely.
Are we seeing a behavior change?
I think, and a good aspect of this project, which we've always done, is engage the attitudes and the knowledge of persons as it relates to the environment, as it relates to pollution. So one of the aspects of this project are the what we call the CAP surveys, knowledge, attitude, and practice surveys that we distribute to various members of the public, various sectors, and that's ongoing now because it's all engaging. What do you think about this? How hopeful are you that this can be implemented? What do you know about extended producer responsibility? Just to gauge, because we know once we set on something, we set on something. And as I said, this being tried before with the plastic shopping bags, and we were discussing a few days ago, and we're actually going to implement the knowledge, the surveys as well at the end of this project.
Okay.
Just to see how the information that was presented, how the potential solutions that have been presented have impacted the person's knowledge of it. And we're even looking to distribute tourist CAP surveys just for the cruise tourists that come in. They are, they come from various places, they have the knowledge of what's practiced in their country, and just gauging how they view this being implemented in this territory. Because I think all of us have a collective environmental responsibility, right?
Yes.
Locals and visitors alike. But it's up to us as a territory to be serious about implementing policy and laws, but also educating the public. Because it's a balance of education, and then you have to follow it up with legislation. Because you can educate and talk and talk and talk, but if there's no legislation that's saying this is what you have to do, then likely you won't really get that behavior change, or at least get sustained behavior change. But I know this is things like these are going to be sort of discussed in depth in the workshop, and Amar certainly has a lot of experience in various countries in terms of how they have adapted, how long it took some countries to adapt. But it's all about that balance of that education and the legislation.
Yeah, I mean, one more thing is in terms of this kind of a attitude change. If people or if a person feels part of the system, that actually changes their attitude. You are not just a person, you are not just left out. You are actually part of this system. That's where, as you said, the regulations should come in a way that, hey, I'm part of system, I have a responsibility, or else I will be held accountable.
Yes, that's awesome. Exactly,
that holding accountable is something which will be driven by these kind of regulations, and that is where of course the NGOs and there are private sector who can do their bit. But having been said, as I already said, there is a willpower from the ministry and the different governmental agencies to come up with this kind of a policies. And we definitely see that, probably going forward in a year or two, we will definitely see these kind of policies coming in picture. And I'm hoping for the really, really, of course, the future is really good, but really, really good.
No, yeah, and these policies have, and that was part of when it was trying to be implemented before. The policies didn't come forward and were approved. So there was this just a voluntary. It wasn't necessarily mandated in certain respects. So, and I think the other piece then is when we look at the circular economy and the potential economic incentive. So to a deposit return scheme, for example, yes, okay, I'm willing to pay more knowing that I can get a deposit back. The economic incentives. I think that we're. It's generally there's an awareness here that we need to protect and preserve our environment. But I think what this project does is break it down in such a way that we say, okay, yeah, this is the impact of this particular waste stream. This is how much single uses plastic bottles are being found on our beaches and eventually makes it into, and then this is how much, because we're partnering to do some cleanups as well with Beyond the Reef, which does the coastal cleanups on some of the coastlines that people are not, so we see waste that comes from the yachting or the fishing boats and that sort of stuff like that. So we see a lot of fishing nets. So it's not only land-based single-use plastic bottles, but at least what this project does is break it down so people can see, okay, we see the specific impact of various waste streams, and then we see the opportunities that exist within those waste streams to turn it into a resource.
Nice.
And I think that's the participatory part of it that we want to highlight.
Okay, and one other thing that I observed from those coastal cleanups, I was like so surprised on the number of occasions where you find so much waste trapped in mangroves.
Absolutely.
So much. I'm like, why? Oh,
It's,
you understand?
absolutely.
So I think this is a great program. We'll be looking forward to seeing the outcome. We know it's not a talk shop from just here and from the seminars and the other interventions, but the outcome of this will be felt not tomorrow, not next month, but definitely in the years to come, when we see you holding the legislators accountable to make whatever policy changes. And then when we see our sister territories, islands, and countries implementing and getting great success and wanting to make sure that we are in that success bracket. So thank you so much for stopping by and sharing. Excellent conversation. Looking forward to participating in the seminars and to hearing a whole lot more.
Thank you, Providence.
For those who would love, having heard of this now, wanted to participate in the seminar, are the doors still open for more participants?
We have just about filled the quota, but I think there's still room for more interested persons. I think one or two more. And the seminar, just for information, the seminar is taking place at the Treasure Isle Hotel tomorrow and Friday. So I think, again, we encourage people to register, and we send them the link. But if there is there anyone who wants to participate still, they can contact Green VI. You can log on to our website and get the contact numbers there. Let us know today, so that we can make allowance, so we can let you know whether. But either way, the information from those workshops will be disseminated, and you will see the impact in the activities that we do.
All right, Dylan, Amar, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure, and it's been a pleasure for you taking time out to join us here for this edition of The Big Story. I'm Kathy Richards. Thank you so much for joining us.
Large and small corporations in the BVI can't be wrong. Bovi HR, a BVI-based integrated solution of employee timesheets, leave tracking, scheduling, employment letters, HR processes, pay slips, and tax reports, including NHI, Social Security, and Inland Revenue, will make your management of employees easier. While Bovi HR can cater to the needs of larger enterprises, it also works exceptionally well for small companies. To sign up, visit bovihr.com, that is BOVIHR.com, or call us at 342-9686.